rain hammered against the windows like a relentless drumbeat, the kind that echoes through empty halls and stirs forgotten desires. It was well past midnight, the witching hour, when secrets come alive, and Ethan, the weary single dad in this heartwarming story of unexpected connection, stared at the ceiling of his modest apartment. His mind raced with the burdens of his single dad story. Raising two young kids alone after losing his wife to a sudden illness 2 years ago. Bills piled up, work demanded more than he could give, and the ache in his chest never quite faded. But tonight, something felt different. A soft knock echoed through the door, tentative at first, then bolder, like a heartbeat quickening with anticipation. Who could it be at this hour? Ethan wondered, his pulse racing as he padded barefoot across the cold floor. The storm outside raged, wind howling like a lover's whisper turned fierce. He peered through the peephole, but the rain-smeared glass revealed only a shadowy figure, a woman, drenched and shivering. With a deep breath, he opened the door, and there she stood, Sarah, his boss, the formidable CEO of the marketing firm where he slaved away as a graphic designer. Her usually impeccable suit clung to her curves like a second skin, the white blouse translucent from the downpour, hinting at the lace beneath. Water dripped from her dark hair, framing a face etched with vulnerability he'd never seen in boardroom battles. "Ethan," she breathed, her voice a mix of desperation and something deeper, more electric. "I didn't know where else to go." This midnight knock story was about to unfold into something far more intimate than either could imagine. Ethan stood frozen, his single dad boss story taking an unforeseen turn. Sarah, the woman who commanded respect and fear in equal measure, looked small and fragile under the porch light. Her eyes, usually sharp and calculating, now shimmered with unshed tears, mascara streaking like forbidden ink on pale skin. "Can I come in?" she asked, her tone laced with the kind of emotional kindness story that rarely surfaced in their professional world. He stepped aside, closing the door behind him as the storm sealed them in together. The apartment was dimly lit by a single lamp, casting warm shadows that danced across the walls adorned with his children's drawings, reminders of his touching single-parent story. Ethan grabbed a towel from the bathroom, offering it to her with a hesitant hand. As she dried her face, their fingers brushed, sending a spark up his arm. A late-night surprise story, igniting unspoken tension. "What happened?" he asked, guiding her to the worn couch where he'd spent countless nights wrestling with grief. Sarah hesitated, her breath hitching as she peeled off her soaked jacket, revealing shoulders toned from yoga sessions she'd once mentioned in passing. The fabric of her blouse molded to her form, accentuating the gentle swell of her breast, and Ethan averted his eyes, feeling a forbidden heat stir within him. He was her employee, after all, a single dad struggling to keep his job amid cutbacks. But in this moment, hierarchies dissolved. "It's Mark," she confessed, her voice cracking. "My husband. We've been fighting for months. Tonight, it exploded. He left, said he's done. I drove around for hours, and somehow, I ended up here." Ethan nodded, recognizing the pain in her eyes that mirrored his own from that fateful night his world shattered. "I'm sorry," he said softly, sitting beside her, close enough to feel the chill radiating from her skin. "You always seem so put together at work. I had no idea." She laughed bitterly, a sound that sent shivers down his spine. "That's the façade. Behind it, I'm falling apart. And you, Ethan, you're always fine when I ask how you're doing, but I see it in your eyes. The weight of your single dad story, the late nights, the missed deadlines because of doctor's appointments or school plays. Why do you hide it?" He swallowed hard, the room growing warmer despite the draft. Her proximity was intoxicating, the scent of rain mixed with her perfume, a subtle vanilla that evoked memories of warmer embraces. "Because admitting I'm not fine feels like weakness," he admitted, his voice low. "After losing Anna, I have to be strong for the kids. But truth is, I'm drowning. Financially, emotionally, it's all too much." Sarah turned to him, her hand resting on his knee, a touch that lingered, electric and comforting. "You're not alone in that," she whispered, their gazes locked, heated and intense, as if the storm outside had migrated indoors. He noticed the way her lips parted slightly, full and inviting, and wondered what it would be like to bridge the gap between boss and employee. But he pulled back, offering her a blanket instead. "Let me make you some tea," he said, standing to escape the building desire. As he busied himself in the kitchen, Sarah wandered the living room, picking up a framed photo of Ethan with his kids, a boy of 8 and a girl of 5, their smiles bright against his tired features. "They're beautiful," she called. "You're doing an amazing job. You know that. This inspirational kindness story of yours, it's real, not like my life, all smoke and mirrors." He returned with steaming mugs, sitting closer this time, their thighs brushing. The conversation flowed deeper, vulnerabilities spilling like the rain outside. She shared how her marriage had crumbled under the pressure of her career, how she'd sacrificed intimacy for ambition. He opened up about the loneliness that gnawed at him, nights when the bed felt too empty, the touch of another a distant dream. Each confession drew them nearer, the air thick with unspoken attraction. Her hand found his again, fingers intertwining, a simple gesture that ignited a fire. "Have you ever wondered," she murmured, her breath warm against his ear, "what it would be like to let go? To not be the boss or the single dad, just us?" The question hung in the air, a reflective pause that begged the audience to ponder their own hidden desires. What if one act of emotional kindness led to something more profound? The storm intensified, thunder rumbling like a heartbeat syncing with theirs. Ethan's resolve cracked under Sarah's gaze, those emerald eyes holding promises of escape from his healing connection. "Story." She leaned in, her wet hair brushing his shoulder, sending goosebumps across his skin. "Ethan," she said, her voice husky. "Say it again. Tell me you're not fine," while looking at me. He met her eyes, the challenge sparking something primal. "I'm not fine," he confessed, the words raw and liberating. In that moment, the boss knocked at midnight narrative transformed into a vortex of desire. She cupped his face, her thumbs tracing his jawline, rough with stubble. Their lips met in a tentative kiss, soft at first, then deepening with urgency born of shared pain. Ethan pulled her closer, his hands roaming her back, feeling the damp fabric give way to warm skin. She gasped against his mouth as he lifted her onto his lap, her legs straddling him on the couch. The blouse, already sheer, was discarded in a frenzy, revealing lace that barely contained her. "God, Sarah," he groaned, his lips trailing down her neck, tasting salt and rain. Her fingers tangled in his hair, guiding him lower, as she arched into his touch. This single dad boss story escalated into forbidden passion, the kind that blurs lines and ignites souls. She tugged at his shirt, exposing his toned chest, remnants of gym sessions to cope with stress. Their bodies pressed together, heat building like the storm's crescendo. He carried her to the bedroom, the door clicking shut behind them, sealing their late-night surprise story in secrecy. On the bed, illuminated by faint moonlight filtering through curtains, they explored each other with reverence and hunger. Her nails raked his back as he kissed the curve of her breast, eliciting moans that echoed the thunder. "I've wanted this," she admitted breathlessly, her hands exploring lower, finding him ready and aching. "From the first time I saw the fire in your eyes at work." He flipped her beneath him, their rhythm sensing in a dance of vulnerability and lust. Rain pounded the window, mirroring the intensity of their union's slow builds to frantic peaks. In this climax of their emotional kindness story, barriers shattered. She was no longer just his boss, he no longer just a grieving single dad. They were two broken souls forging something new. In the heat of the night, as waves of pleasure crashed over them, Sarah whispered, "This is our healing connection story," her body trembling in release. Ethan followed, collapsing beside her, spent and alive in ways he hadn't felt in years. Dawn crept in, the storm subsiding to a gentle drizzle as if the world had exhaled with them. Ethan and Sarah lay entwined, sheets tangled around their bodies, the air heavy with the scent of their shared passion. This heartwarming story had evolved into a tapestry of second chances, where vulnerability birthed not just support, but a profound bond. Sarah traced lazy circles on his chest, her head resting on his shoulder. "What now?" she asked softly, a hint of fear in her voice. Ethan kissed her forehead, pulling her closer. We figure it out together. No more hiding behind I'm fine. This touching single-parent story of mine, it includes you now. If you want, she smiled. The first genuine one he'd seen, lighting up the room. I do. Mark and I are over. But this feels like a beginning. They talked for hours, planning discreetly how to navigate work dynamics, support each other's worlds. Ethan shared stories of his kids, and Sarah promised to help with flexible hours, turning their inspirational kindness story into actionable change. As she dressed, the sun breaking through clouds, Ethan felt a weight lift. The midnight knock had been a catalyst, transforming grief into hope, isolation into intimacy. Thank you for coming here, he said at the door, stealing one last kiss, lingering, promising more. Anytime, she replied with a wink, stepping into the fresh morning. Back inside, Ethan glanced at the photo of his family, whispering, we're going to be okay. And to you, dear listener, in this single dad's story of forbidden desire and healing, have you ever let a midnight surprise unlock your heart? Like, subscribe, and share your own tales of unexpected connections in the comments. Who knows what emotional kindness story awaits your own door? As they sipped tea, Sarah opened up further. My marriage was a facade, she said, her legs crossing elegantly, drawing Ethan's gaze to the way her skirt rode up slightly. We stopped touching years ago emotionally, physically. I poured everything into work, but it left me empty. Ethan shared his own void. Nights are the worst. The kid's asleep, and I'm left with memories of Anna's laugh, her touch. I crave connection, but who has time for a single dad's burdens? Their hands met again. This time with intent. She leaned in, her breath mingling with his. You deserve more, she murmured. The tension built a slow burn as thunder clapped outside. In the bedroom, they undressed slowly, savoring each reveal. Sarah's skin glowed under the lamp, curves inviting his exploration. He kissed her collarbone, down to her navel, her gasps fueling his desire. She reciprocated, her lips exploring his body with expertise, building to a symphony of moans. Their union was tender, yet fierce, a release of pent-up emotions. As Sarah stepped out into the soft morning light, the rain had stopped completely. Tiny drops still clung to the leaves outside, sparkling like diamonds in the first rays of sun. She turned back to Ethan one last time, her eyes bright with something new, something alive. He pulled her gently into his arms again, right there on the doorstep, not caring if anyone might see. Their kiss was slow this time, deep and full of promise, no longer rushed by storm or desperation, but warm with the quiet certainty of two people who had found each other when they needed it most. Sarah rested her forehead against his, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. This isn't just one night, Ethan, she whispered, her voice soft but steady. I don't want it to be. He smiled, really smiled, the kind that reached his eyes and lightened the weight he carried for so long. It won't be, he said. I'm not letting you walk away now. Not after you walked through that storm straight to me. She laughed quietly, a sound full of joy and relief, and kissed him once more, gentle, lingering, tasting of future mornings just like this one. Inside, Ethan could already imagine it. Quiet coffees before the kids woke up, her hand in his under the office table during meetings, stolen glances that held entire conversations, nights where loneliness was replaced by warmth, touch, and whispered dreams. What began as a midnight knock born of pain had become the start of something beautiful, a passionate, healing love that felt like coming home. The single dad's heart, once quiet and guarded, was now wide open, and so was hers. Thank you for joining me on the steamy, emotional, and deeply romantic journey of desire, vulnerability, and second chances. If this story made your heart beat faster, left you smiling, or filled you with hope for your own unexpected love, please give it a like. Subscribe for more passionate stories. Turn on notifications. And in the comments, tell me, have you ever felt a moment so perfect it changed everything? Share it. I can't wait to read your stories. Until the next heartbeat skipping romance, stay open to love, stay hopeful, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining me on the steamy, emotional, and deeply romantic journey of desire, vulnerability, and second chances. Welcome to Hidden Truths, the channel where the deepest emotions and forbidden passions come to light. Here, we uncover the hidden truths of the heart, the desires we keep secret, the connections we crave, and the love stories that change everything. If this story made your heart race and left you longing for more, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because on Hidden Truths, every story reveals a secret too beautiful to stay hidden. See you in the next one.